Hey everyone. In this quick video, I'm going to be explaining how to prepare your document by using grids, guidelines, and master pages. This is going to help ensure that your document appears clean and organized for whoever views your document. So, by the end of this video, you're going to be able to use grids, place guidelines from the on-screen rulers, and produce master pages that will help you become more time efficient when using InDesign. So let's get started. So at this point in the process, it's recommended that you have a rough draft or storyboard drawn for your document. This can be drawn roughly on paper, but make sure your ideas are forming before you get into drafting it digitally. It would also be a good idea to review your hand-drawn draft with the course instructor or even your classmates so that some of the preliminary mistakes are dealt with before getting into InDesign. The first thing we want to do is set up our master page with the correct margins, grids, and guides. Master pages are default pages that can be applied to our spreads. This will ensure that each page is using the same kind of layout, which in turn makes our overall document seem more clean and thorough. So I'm going to point out that we can see that our 6 pages all have an A located in the corner. This means that each page is applied to the A master page. So I want to edit the margins, grids, and guides for the A master page so that every page in our document will be using the same layout. To edit this master page, I'm just going to double click on any of the A master spread. This will take us to a screen that will allow us to edit the A master spread. I'm going to edit our margins first. The margins are what tell us where our boundaries on the page are so that the edge of the spread is even on all sides. I can edit the margins in multiple ways, but my preferred method is by selecting both pages on the spread. We can do this by selecting the left page, holding Shift, and then the right page. You can see how they're both highlighted in blue here. Then I'm going to go up to Layout, and then Margins and Columns. Now I'm going to edit the size of my margins. So I'm going to do my margins in 1/4 inch on all sides. So 0.25. I'm going to select outside of the box, and you're going to notice that all of my margins are now 0.25. They changed on their own, and this is because we have this this chain link box selected. So I'm going to hit that because I actually want to change my inside boundaries to 0.5. So it should give us an entire inch in the middle of the page. And this is because we want to think about our spiral binding that will take up extra room on our page if we print this as a physical copy. So I'm going to hit preview to see what that looks like. Yep, that's what I want. And then I'm actually going to add a column. This will help divide our page into 4 equal parts. And then I'm going to set our gutter, which is this right here, to 0.25 as well. Then I'm going to hit OK. So the next thing I want to do is start adding in some guides. I'm going to do this by going to Layout, Create Guides, and then I'm going to do 3 rows of guides. No columns because my columns are created when I did my margins. We're going to set our gutter to 0.25. And then I'm going to make sure our guides fit to margins. It's important that you select the margins because the page size and your margins will differ in size based on how you set up your document. And then I'm going to hit preview. That looks good, and hit OK. You can see that this split up our document into 3 equal parts for each row, and then 6 equal parts for the page, and then 12 equal parts for the entire spread. This is really going to help us select where we want to have our frames and shapes when we start drawing those later on. And then finally, the last thing I want to do is add in a grid. So this one's a little bit different. We have to go to Edit, Preferences, Grids, And then we're going to look at document grid instead of baseline grid. So I like to keep it as light gray. And then I'm going to do a grid line for every 1/2 inch, both horizontal and vertical. And then I'm going to uncheck the grids and back and then hit OK. And you'll notice that it doesn't pop up right away. So what you want to do is hit View, Grids and Guides, and then Show Document Grid. And then the shortcut for this is Control''. So you can see that this splits up our document into even smaller sections. And I like to toggle this off and on every so often. I don't like to have it on all the time, but it is helpful in certain occasions. Now that we have our document grid, guides, and margins set up, I'm actually going to go ahead and add some custom guides that's going to help me later down the road. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off our grid for now by going to Grid, Grids and Guides, and hide document grid. So now that our document margins, grids, and guides are all set up, I actually want to go in and add some custom guides to help me later down the road. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and turn our grid off. Hide document grid. And then what I'm going to do to place custom guides is go over here to my vertical ruler, and I'm going to click and drag off the ruler. You can see that this will start to place a guide. And as I move it along, it does it in kind of freehand increments. So you can see that I'm at like 0.2 of an inch or 0.52 of an inch, 0.56 of an inch. But if I hold shift, it will do this and it'll move the guide in a more precise increment. So you can see that as I move it, it does it at 0.25 of an inch every time it moves. So I'm going to go ahead and place this in the middle of the column. And I'm going to do that for each column. This is to help me place picture frames exactly in the middle of the column later on down the road. It is important to note that based on your portfolio, your layout might not look exactly like this. So maybe you have 0.5 or 1/2 an inch columns or 1/2 an inch margins all the way around your board. Just be cautious that all of this might look a little different based on how you're creating your document. So this is all looking pretty good to me. So what I'm going to do is go back to my overall document now. So to get out of your master page, you can just double click on any page that is not a master page. So I'm just going to double click on our cover page here, and it will take us back to our document. And you'll see that our document, each page has margins and guides and could have grids if I were to show them. But you can see that because all of these pages are connected to the A master page, they all have guides and margins. And you'll notice that if I go back into the master page and move, this guide all the way to the side, and then go back to our document, it has also changed it in our master document here. So that's kind of the use for master pages. After I have used the Control-Z command to undo the guide move, you can now see that the guide has returned to the original position that we set it in. Now that we know how to adjust margins and columns, place automatic and custom guides, and toggle our document grid on and off, we are now ready to start placing frames, lines, shapes, and color to give our document some life. However, this will all have to be covered in InDesign Part 3. Alright, so that wraps up InDesign Part 2, where we learned how to use grids, guidelines, and master pages. I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, reach out to us. Thanks.